The sun shone brightly on the Santa Monica Pier, where laughter, music, and the smell of cotton candy filled the air. Families strolled across the wooden planks, children tugged on their parents' hands for rides, and couples leaned against the railing, watching the waves crash below. Yet, amid this lively, cheerful scene, one girl sat quietly in her wheelchair near the carousel, trying to blend in with the crowd. Her name was Marissa Hart, a 19-year-old whose life had changed forever after a car accident left her paralyzed from the waist down. She loved the pier. The spinning Ferris wheel, the echo of guitarists playing for tips, and the salty ocean breeze made her feel alive again. But what she feared most were people's stares, the way strangers looked at her chair before they looked at her face. That day, however, she told herself she wouldn't let fear stop her. She was going to roll along the pier, buy herself a lemonade, and enjoy the world like everyone else. She wanted to feel normal again. But normalcy was short-lived. 3 young men noticed her from across the boardwalk. They were loud, swaggering, and clearly trying to draw attention. One wore a floral shirt with his chest puffed out, tattoos creeping down his arms. The other 2 wore faded denim vests. They had been shoving each other, joking crudely, but when their eyes landed on Marissa, their grins grew sharper. They approached her slowly, like predators circling their prey. One of them leaned close and sneered, "Move, Cripple." The words slashed through her like a knife. Marissa froze. She had grown used to whispers behind her back, but this was different. This was loud, cruel, and public. Before she could react, the man in the floral shirt laughed and swung his boot toward her wheelchair. The impact jolted her chair, sending her teetering sideways. She gasped, one hand shooting out to steady herself, the other clutching the wheel. She almost fell onto the pier planks. People nearby turned their heads, but instead of stepping forward, most just looked away. And that was when her heart sank, not because of the bully's words, but because of everyone else's silence. Friends, if you believe kindness should never stay silent, and that we all deserve second chances and respect, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Together, we can make stories like this matter. Marissa blinked back tears, but the men weren't finished. They jeered, mocking her as though her wheelchair was some kind of joke. "Bet you can't even get up without help," one of them sneered. Another laughed so hard he bent double, slapping his knee. Every word chipped away at her courage. She wanted to vanish, to roll herself away as fast as she could. But her arms felt heavy, frozen. Then something began to shift in the atmosphere. At first, it was the sound, a deep, steady rumble that vibrated through the pier planks. The laughter of the bullies faltered as heads turned toward the street leading to the pier. One by one, motorcycles rolled in, chrome glinting under the California sun. Black leather, polished boots, tattoos that told stories of lives lived rough and raw. They came in numbers too many to count, dozens, maybe more. Engines growled like thunder rolling in off the ocean. The pier seemed to tremble as they parked their bikes and dismounted. A sea of bikers, broad-shouldered and grim-faced, began walking toward the commotion. Among them were men and women, old and young, but all carried the same expression, anger tightly coiled into silence. Their vests bore insignias, but it was not the patches that mattered, it was the unity, the brotherhood, the sheer force of their presence. The bullies, once so loud, suddenly grew pale. The man in the floral shirt dropped his mocking grin. His eyes darted left and right, searching for escape, but the bikers closed the distance too quickly. The boardwalk crowd had grown hushed, all eyes now fixed on the scene unfolding. The once busy pier felt like the stage of a movie. Marissa's breath caught in her throat. She had never seen anything like it. A wall of leather and steel approached, their boots striking the wood in unison. The leader, a towering man with a silver beard and calm but furious eyes, stepped forward until he was just a few feet away from the bullies. Without a word, he folded his arms, his glare so sharp it could cut through bone. Behind him, the rest of the bikers fanned out, forming an unbreakable barrier around Marissa. The bullies shuffled backward, suddenly so small, their bravado evaporating in the face of this silent army. No one laid a hand on them, but the message was clear: you will not touch her again. Marissa could feel her pulse racing in her ears. For the first time since the accident, she didn't feel small, or pitted, or weak. She felt protected. Important. She felt seen. The bikers didn't raise their voices. They didn't need to. Their presence alone was enough to shift the balance of power. The pier, once filled with cruel laughter, now buzzed with awe. People who had turned away earlier now stared wide-eyed, some even lifting their phones to record. The bullies, realizing they had become the villains of their own show, stumbled away, their shoulders hunched, muttering curses under their breath. And then, the most incredible thing happened. The leader turned to Marissa, his stern expression softening. He crouched slightly so he could meet her eyes at her level. "You're safe now," he said gently. His voice was low, gravelly, yet filled with kindness. Marissa's eyes welled up with tears she had tried so hard to hold back. She nodded, unable to speak. Around her, the bikers smiled and gave her thumbs up, some resting their hands on her chair in quiet solidarity. They didn't see her as broken. They didn't see her as a burden. They saw her as someone worth standing up for. The moment stretched into something timeless. The Ferris wheel spun lazily in the background, the ocean breeze carried the salty air, and on that sunny California day, an army of bikers transformed a story of cruelty into a moment of unforgettable compassion. The crowd broke into applause. Children clapped, parents smiled with relief, and even strangers approached to pat Marissa's shoulder. But none of it compared to the warmth she felt knowing that, for once, the world had answered back to cruelty with courage. In the days that followed, Marissa's story spread beyond the pier. Videos uploaded online captured the exact moment when the bikers surrounded her, and soon it became a viral symbol of protection and kindness. People across the world commented, sharing their own stories of times when someone had stood up for them, or when they had failed to stand up for someone else. The story became more than hers, it became a reminder of what humanity could look like at its best. Before we end, I have one special request. Drop a comment below with the words, "Kindness protects," if you believe the world needs more people who stand up against cruelty.